Hello and welcome to the Tab DJ. This is Blake here, and I'm going to be doing a series of tutorials on the basics and maybe some more advanced stuff of Redstone. This is just a little thing I set up to make sure it's always daytime because it's kind of annoying when it's not and you can't see shit. Anyway, so if you're watching this tutorial, I assume that you know absolutely nothing about the mechanics of Redstone. If that is not the case, well, there's nothing I can do for you right now. You're just gonna have to skip the video or something. Anyway, so redstone, what is it? It's an ore that you find around height 14 generally of the Minecraft world. It is used to carry Minecraft's equivalent of a redstone charge of electricity, which is a redstone charge. I'm probably gonna, yeah, I'm gonna white that out. Which is a redstone charge. Redstone is a small block that can easily be walked over, even through two block gaps, allowing it to be placed almost anywhere. It has many mechanics, including the fact that signal travels a maximum of 15 blocks and can be repeated by redstone repeaters, but I'll get to that later. Anyway, when redstone is placed, it can be taken off by either lava or water. What it does now, so yeah, lava will burn it, water won't. It'll flow the items though, so make sure you watch out for that. Anyway, another thing about redstone is that sandstone, redstone will pass a charge to the block beneath it, which means that if this block, so I'm gonna set up a line here, so these blocks here are part of a separate line than these bottom blocks on here. It can, if it's like a pressure plate or something, that applies power to this block. So with this setup, it is actually applying power to this block right here. I don't need that there. Anyway, so even though it's applying power to this block right here, this bottom bit should, well, it's not applying power to that bit right there. So, anyway, it will light up when it is. So on bottom. God dang it. People keep calling me. So, these are the really basic things. Some blocks fall, and okay, so for purposes of later in the video, this gravel means a falling block, and stone slabs, which will be placed on the top of the block. So stone slabs placed like that mean a transparent block, and means a semi-transparent block, and you can look that up on Minecraft Wiki. All it means is that it will both pass power up and down on the same side. So if I line up a charge, I think I don't. Well, suffice it to say that were I to do this, the redstone charge, would go both the top and the bottom, which isn't something you can normally achieve. So you can do that with stairs, with all manner of things, but it's extremely useful when designing complex redstone circuits, because you can pass it over other blocks a lot easier. Damn it. This isn't supposed to be that, and wait, is it supposed to be that? Either way, I'll eventually go over how that works later. But um, it's not necessary right now. Another simple mechanic is that redstone repeaters. So when you normally place your redstone here and your power out here, it'll only go a certain amount of blocks. But what do you do if you want it to go to, say, I don't know, here, because this is like a note block for your door alarm or something? What you do is you get an item called a redstone repeater. Extremely simple to make, but I'm in creative mode right now because I don't want to really bother. Either way, so what you do is you find this power, and it seems to end here, right? So what we do is we break that block and we place a redstone repeater. The repeater will repeat the charge in exchange for a small delay as determined by this. This is the smallest delay, going up to a 2, 3, and even 4 redstone tick delay. Redstone ticks are a mechanic in the game that are the update cycles of redstone. So, I know there's a lot of explanation of basic terms right now, but once this gets over, I'll start actually explaining what some stuff does. There are a lot of mechanics that can be activated by redstone, such as your note block, your piston, your TNT. So I'm actually gonna pause the video right now, and I'm gonna set that up. Hello and welcome back. I set up a whole bunch of stuff that can be activated by redstone. First, oh, by the way, this redstone torch acts as a something called a NOT gate, which means that when it is getting power, when the block it is on is getting power, sorry, it is always off. I can go show you how to exploit that later. Anyway, so I've set up a variety of devices that can be activated by redstone torches. So, first you have your iron door, which will open and close. Your dropper, which will drop items instead of use them. So if we put this lava bucket here, it launches that lava bucket out of it, and the player can go pick it up. Or a hopper. Again, later. Dispensers are almost exactly like droppers, with a single distinction that they can use some items like lava buckets, water buckets, fire charges can be launched like blaze fireballs, and arrows can be launched. And if the arrows go through lava, they will activate. One bonus of droppers is that they'll place it right in front of them. So, lava. Uh-oh. It's gonna flow into my redstone, isn't it? No, it's not. That's due to a mechanical lava where it only flows 3 blocks. And because these are blocking the fastest path, these are right here and can't move to the sides because they're out of flow distance. Also, one more thing a dispenser can do is that if it has an empty bucket, it can pick up that lava. Another useful thing. That way you can set up a fully resettable trap made of, like, I don't know, something like wooden plank slabs, because that would be really mean because they'd think it was just wood. Either way. So, there's also your note block, which can't change in pitch when activated by redstone, but it changes in pitch when you right click on it. Therefore, you could make like a song of kicks and stuff and beats and such. Anyway, also, pistons. Normal pistons and sticky pistons can both be activated by redstone. And they push out, moving the block in front of them one block that way. So it's pretty nice. Anyway, lastly, TNT. And there's no bad thing about lighting TNT up with redstone. It's exactly like lighting it up with fire. So, what I'm going to show is, and there's a reason I saved this for last. Boom! And it's gone. And now I've got a giant hole in my world that I'm going to need to cover up. Anyway, next I'm going to go over the part. And I'm back with the pieces that the average redstoner will use in his or her term of office. So, These are the most basic components in my inventory. A piece of colored wool. Colored wool is generally used so that other players can distinguish which redstone circuit is which for the more complex of builds. Um, for me, it doesn't really matter because of the small size of what I'm doing. However, for a giant build like an adventure map or a computer, you're going to want to use colored wool so that no one is like, what does this do and what does it connect to? Because I can't troubleshoot your stuff because it sucks. Anyway, avoiding that purpose. So, first your redstone, which is your average transmission method, no delay at all, travels for 15 blocks. Pretty average. Anyway, next is your redstone repeater. Your redstone repeater will repeat a signal but also add delay. Therefore, if I want to, for example, have this, and I'm going to pretend there's a door here when in fact there isn't. Unfortunately, redstone repeaters cannot turn, so you will have to place a piece of redstone there, so you can't have, a constant. You couldn't have an entire circuit made up of redstone repeaters unless it's going in one direction. Okay, so if I were to want to add a delay of, I don't even know how long, since the moment someone presses a button and since the moment, say, a piston door or a normal door for that matter, a normal iron door, um, activates, then what I would do is I'd set it up something like this. Maybe a little bit more confined or something, or if it's a really long delay, I'll show you something else that I call a long delay timer. Anyway, so I place that there and watch as that redstone signal travels along, and it opens. Brilliant. Another thing that it does is it also delays the ending of a circuit. So when I break this, it stays open, and then it finally goes through all the repeaters, and it finishes. So there's that. The uses of pistons are pretty obvious to me. However, some of you might not see. Why would I want something that pushes blocks in my electronic circuit? Well, that's because a redstone charge can travel through a non-glass, non-glowstone block. So were I to have these two things here, well, maybe, well, yeah, I'm going to show you a pretty basic piston circuit. Were I to have, we're going to call this first one input A. We're going to call this second one input B, and we're going to call this third one that I'm about to place input C. Now input C is different than all the rest, and we're going to use a sticky piston for this because it will pull back the block when I want it to. So let's make input A on and input B off. So what we're going to do following that is we're going to put a block here. Then, on the other side, we're going to put two redstone. These are both powered through the block. How is that doing that? Well, this is powering it through the block. And I'll explain a little bit more later. Anyway, this is powering it through the block, and this is not powering through anything. There's nothing there to put power through. Redstone does not need to face the direction it's receiving power from anymore. That got taken out with an earlier update. So, input C, I was avoiding getting to it, is this one here. Now, what does input C do, you ask? Well, if input C is on, then it's actually using input B. I'll get to this type of circuit a little bit more later, but suffice it to say that currently it's a toggle, but it has more uses later. Anyway, so involving that. Next is your block of redstone. Block of redstone does something that us redstoners have been wanting for a long time. The ability to move a power block. So, if I wanted to power that, I'll show you. So, when the block is not pushed out, okay, I'm confused. Anyway, when the block is not pushed out, this one's always going to be on. When the block is pushed out, that one's always going to be on, and this one is always going to be off. It's actually more useful than it sounds because it allows something called a block update detector. I've already explained that in a previous video where I explained how I built a vertical block update detector, which is a lot harder than it sounds. Next is your redstone comparator. This has a ton of uses, and I'm gonna probably make a video specifically for the uses of this block. So I'm gonna cut here and get to the extremely basic gates of redstoning. Lastly are the gates, so I'm gonna do that now. Anyway, everything in Minecraft is basically made with a... Okay, that's kind of creepy. Bat noises. I'm just gonna turn my volume and music down, because that's actually kind of scary. I think I turned that bit that I blew up into a cavern. Anyway, so, what happened was... What am I saying? Anyway, so your basic gate in redstoning is always something called a NOT gate, which means that when input, which is this, is not on, this output, which is this, is on. With it, you can make something called an RS NOR latch, but I'm not going to get to that quite yet. Anyway, all you do is place that there, and it's off, and it's on, and it's off, and it's on. I could play with this all day. Now, I'm going to make something called an OR gate. An OR gate is also extremely simple. All it is input, 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 output. Yeah, that simple. Now, if you wanted to make these inputs so that they didn't pass signal backward down the line, which would be if this, say, was powering a repeater, which was powering another repeater, which was powering a redstone piece, which was powering a repeater. No, that's wrong. Okay, just a sec. Repeater, repeater, which is powering a redstone piece, which is powering a repeater, so that, like, I don't know, when this is on, this is on, type, when this is when this one's off, this one's on. For an OR gate, it wouldn't actually be advisable to do this specifically. I'm just doing it for an example. And what it would do is that when any of these turned on, it would start to flip-flop back and forth. Why? Well, I'll explain why. Just a second. I need to place that. Okay. Not flop back and forth. I'm confused. Anyway, so it just pushes out, and now everything's on, and brilliant. Brilliant. Anyway. So what if you don't want everything to be on? Well, then what you do is you take a redstone repeater, and you place that there, facing in. So you're placing all of these facing into that one piece of redstone, and all it's going to do is, when one of these is on, the output is on. Brilliant. Using that OR gate, you can create something called a NOR gate, which means when none of these are on, turn this one on. And all you have to do to change this one off, change that one, is to place a block of stone or whatever wool you're using, and a redstone torch on it. What is that? It's just a combination of your NOT gate and your OR gate, which is why it's called a NOR gate, because not OR would sound kind of weird to say. It's like, I built my not OR gate today. And it's like, you're brilliant. Like seriously, you sound freaking retarded. I'm gonna screw around a little. Squish. Anyway. Next I'm gonna move on to something called an AND gate. What it does, and I'm gonna build a flattened out version of it. What it does is it takes two inputs and inverts them, which is the term for puts them through a NOT gate. Then it takes that and puts it into an OR gate. Sounds kinda... Puts it into an OR gate, and then it puts it into another NOT gate. It sounds stupid when explained that way. However, the usefulness of it is that when this one's on, nothing changes. And when this one's on, it's still exactly the same. Oh, I placed that on the wrong point. It's still exactly the same either way. But what happens when we put both on? Well, this one finally turns on. Why? Because of that not and or. It sounds really simple, and you're telling me, and I'm getting this vibe, that is everything made from not and or gates? That and pistons. So if there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask, and I'll go ahead and explain it later. Anyway, so these are actually your basic methods of movement. Next I'm gonna explain this. If you want to bring a signal vertically, there are many ways to do it. One, you could build like your average little player can climb up staircase. So this will bring that to the top. If I put redstone at the bottom, then I'm just jumping up, like your average survival mode player, and voila, it's done. However, if you're willing to induce a little bit of a delay, not much at all actually, then what you could do is something called a redstone torch chain. What you do is you place your bottom block, and then you place the torch, and then because redstone from a torch always goes up in addition to out, you place another block on top of that, and then a redstone torch, and then another block on top of that, and then a redstone torch, and then another block on top of that, and then a redstone torch. I think you're getting my gist now. Anyway, so what this will do is it'll carry your signal all the way up, and it sounds, it's more vertical, obviously, and it's a little bit less resource heavy too, because it uses one redstone for every 2 blocks gone up, so it's gonna be, useful. So I turn this there, and I show, and I'm gonna probably slow motion this. Thank you, YouTube, for finally figuring out how we can do slow motion. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place that, and then you might not have seen that. I'm gonna back it up as much as I can. Okay, so can we see the top block and still punch that? No. We need to go a little bit further. Does that still turn off? Yes, it does. Can we? Yes, there we go. So now you see there is a little bit of delay in it, inherent in it, but it's extremely useful for people who want to transmit power vertically, which is, I have no words other than useful. I'm just blanking today. Anyway, another thing, sorry, is this daylight sensor, and it's pretty complicated. Again, I think I'll actually go over that in the comparative video. So, thank you for watching, and have a good laugh.